Call the Transportation Committee of February 16th to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Collins?
Here.
Commissioner Cross?
Here.
Commissioner Derazinski?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Jagger?
Here.
Commissioner Longmire?
Present.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Here.
Commissioner Plummer?
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Here.
Commissioner Snyder?
Excuse.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Here. The next item is approval of the minutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried. We'll move on to informational items for both the airport and for transit.
Move that they accepted the placement fund. Second.
Is there any discussion on either?
Just a quick question, Marty. I noticed that we're doing well in terms of 2011, not only in passenger but in freight cargo. Is an expectation to hold those numbers?
Marty Piet, airport manager. I would expect those numbers to continue with that trend. I would. Again, the passenger traffic for January over last January is up 40%. This January, it was winter in January. We did have some weather, so there were some cancellations. So that significant increase can't be completely attributed to the nice weather we've had. But I would expect those numbers to continue trending upward. We have a much better schedule than we had about 6 to 7 months ago. So we'll look to see that continue. We'll be getting into spring break again here soon as well. The aircraft operations for the month were up. That probably has a little bit to do with the weather, the nicer weather we had this January. And then the cargo, of course, we have a pretty significant increase percentage-wise on cargo. It was what we had 4 pounds of cargo in January of last year. So it was percentage-wise a large increase, yes.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried. Now we'll move on to item number 5, public comment on an agenda item. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? Please come to the podium and give us your name, please.
My name is Jim Riley. Recently, in a planning session, you folks picked as the #1 item for 2012, which was the fixing the jail in some manner, which is expected to be, no matter how you fix it, is going to be a very expensive venture. So I would assume that your every thought when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars is going to be with that in mind, that funding it is a critically important part of your decision making. And I see today there is a vote to expand the bus system to areas where it previously has not been. So my thought is, of course, if you were business people, and as you are responsible governmental officials, that you would all do the same as a business person, and that is, before you voted to spend precious tax dollars, be they federal or county dollars, that you would make every effort to make sure that your decision was well thought out and well worth the money involved. So what I'd like to find out is how could I or other citizens review what I hope you have already reviewed prior to you making this decision. And that would include, of course, a detailed analysis for the demand of a bus system. If you were going to do it yourself, you'd make sure there was demand before you set buses out. Specifically determine the cost, even though according to the agenda, the operational cost will be paid 50 to 80%, which of course tells me, at least as a past business person, that you don't really know. So a specific determination of the cost of the additional employees and benefits and other expenses that the county will have to pay and take away from fixing problems like the jail and others. And where you have explored collaboration with private suppliers. We just got back from Aspen, Colorado, and they have a very extensive bus system there, and they collaborate with private taxis to provide services where a full bus load is not necessary. And of course, these are tax-paying private businesses that employ people also. So I'd like to find out where I can see the information that you have, I'm sure, reviewed prior to your making this decision today. And I guess I'll ask that of Bonnie. Where does that information lie?
This request is to put together that application, and the application has not been put together until this board approves us to go forward to apply.
So it does not exist?
Well, it hasn't been compiled. It exists, but we haven't compiled the information.
But no one here will have seen that information
Not
prior to the
until-
vote?
Right, they're just saying
Okay.
whether we can do it or not.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? We'll move on to item number 6, TR 120205, authorization of Matt's application to the 2012 federal title funding program.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Longmire?
Yeah, Mr. Coons, how long will it take for the study to be completed? We'll know that, okay, this is feasible for us to go ahead and have buses going out in that direction.
Jim Coons, Muskegon Area Transit System. The request before you is to apply for the capital funding to determine, to purchase vehicles. The decisions on capital funding would be completed, we expect announcements in around July. And at that time, we would know if we're getting the vehicles, we can complete the analysis and identify the operating costs and how we would deploy it. The purchase of vehicles is nearly a year from the moment you order a vehicle until it's delivered. So we have that time period to finalize operating plans, routing, times of service, all of those things.
Is there a heavy demand for the open 120 corridor area? I mean, for it to be on here, someone has to say there is no bus service out in that area.
We hear of transportation needs throughout the entire community, the entire county, and obviously that corridor would be one as well that has needs. Again, it may not be something that we run all day long every day. It would be something we'll need to determine what the proper routing and timings would be.
Thank you.
Are there, Commissioner Jager?
Yeah. See, I'm having a real problem with this because of the fact that they're gonna blame me when we take it away, because I don't believe the money's gonna be here in a few more years. And so this is more of a statement. We're gonna end up taking this away, and people ain't gonna like it. Once you enable something or make it part of the system, you just can't take it away. It's like the road patrol here the other day. Once you put it in place, people don't wanna lose it. And I don't want to be the one to explain to people 2 years down the road that we're going to lose it.
Commissioner Ingram?
I'm a little confused. I thought the motion on the floor was authorization for CNG fuel dispenser. Is that not what?
No.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about funding.
Grant application for a transit.
Yes. But,
Piece of paper.
okay, I guess,
You got to read it.
I've read everything that's on the agenda, okay? And 11205 is authorization.
It's 120205.
Oh, okay, I'm a year off.
All right, thank you. Are there any further questions?
Just a quick observation here. For years, in my area, there's been concerns about trying to get transportation to Muskegon from my area. And those folks who drive to Holden on the N120 corridor understand how busy that road is. So there probably will be some services there that are needed. I think if we can expand out, I understand Mr. Jager's concerns, but if we don't move forward on things, we'll never progress. I think it's a good thing, especially going east to Ravenna. It's just another service we can provide. Thank you.
Commissioner Garrison?
You know, this is the purchase of the equipment, and we're gonna have to be looking at the operation. Where is that money coming from? And I'm sure that's part of the formula for the miles traveled that we get from the state or federal government. We had bus service to Eggleston, I think in the 80s, late 80s, through the transit system, and it did get stopped. And can't see how many people used it. And it was the lack of use. I was a clerk of the township at the time that stopped it. I'm thinking with today's gas prices and economy, that may change, and we really need to get something out east. I'm more concerned about, you know, if we have the buses, now how do we pay for the operation of those buses? But as far as making the application, at this time, we're not committed to anything, even if we were successful in that. And all the other data came before us before we accepted the terms of the application. We would have before us the studies.
We will bring that before you, if we were awarded this grant, you would have to accept it.
I mean,
And
if
prior
we're not
to
awarded-
accepting that.
If
yeah.
we're not awarded this grant, there's no way we could do this.
Right, exactly. And one thing I would add is, I think probably about a year and a half ago, there was an extensive surveying study done in the Montague, Whitehall area. And it does show, the results does show that there is a demand. It was just that we weren't in a position at that time to look at that. But we will compile all that information and have somewhat of a plan if we are awarded this capital funding.
The egg or the chicken.
Right.
Commissioner Scully?
You know, one of the things that I'd like to mention, I just happened to think of this, because I'm the liaison to the Department of Human Services Board. I was in a meeting recently where they were talking about the need to go into for example, the DHS office to access certain services to make workers there. And there were people who lived in some of the outlying areas of the county that couldn't afford the gas to get them. And there are people, and I suspect there's quite a few of them, who, if public transportation was available, their lives would be significantly easier. I mean, if you're going to school, if you're going to MCC or Baker, and you live up in Montague, and you really are, don't have much money, getting there is expensive. So, we'll have to wait and see and look at what the data is, but I suspect we've been hearing about this for quite some time, about the need for it.
Thank you, Mrs. Stowe. Yes. Commissioner Plummer?
It's like we're here to provide services, and we get this money to provide the service, and that's what we're trying to accomplish for our residents, provide services for them. So I hope it goes through when we can provide that service.
I just wanted to reiterate what Commissioner Darzinski said, and that is basically this is just our approval for an application for a grant. It will come back to us if we are successful, and at that point we either accept or reject the grant. It's not as if we are expending funds today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mooney. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
One, no. Motion carried, thank you. We'll now move on to old business. Commissioner Cross?
Well, it's not really old business, sort of a question for Mr. Coons. Quite some time ago, Commissioner Longmire inquired on a ramp of one of these new buses. I just wondered where that stands at.
We had spoken of the idea of having some student involvement in designing a wrap for one of the buses. We weren't able to complete that for the buses that came in at Christmas, but we do have students right now from the Wesley school system, the Muskegon Public, I believe it's high school, and perhaps one of the Charter Academy elementary schools that will be involved in a contest of sorts to develop some artwork for us.
Great, good.
And we have a bus coming in July or August, and we would hope to feature that on there.
Fantastic, thank you.
Commissioner Garrison?
Do we have on our buses that poster of silent observer?
I believe we have some interior advertising for Silent Observer right now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Jim, I'm just curious, those new natural gas buses, is that, they're working fine?
Working very well. Yeah. They are out, being spread out amongst a variety of routes, and been working flawlessly.
And how long does it take to fill the tank in one of those things?
15 to 20 minutes. Again, we're working on our, we'll be doing a dispenser upgrade. We had that approved in February of 2011 on an agenda item. We're still getting that done.
Do you want to know about that?
So we're working to get that. Once that's done, it will speed that process up quite a bit. But right now, they're being fueled in the evening at our location, 15 or so minutes to fuel that. The cost that we're showing right now per gallon equivalent is around $1.25 per gallon equivalent for the natural gas. Diesel's around $3.
It's $1.25 equivalent to gas.
Equivalent to a gasoline gallon. And our diesel price is around $3.14 so far this fiscal year.
When you say equivalent, that's equivalent in energy?
Equivalent energy, yes.
Are there any further? Commissioner Long?
Just a comment to Marty. I saw the commercial for the airport. Does it last all year?
The commercials that we have out, those should be probably coming off air, if not already. They will be soon. It was a pretty short campaign, about a 1-month airing time on those.
Are there any further questions or comments?
If I could just make one more comment, and related to Marty, I don't know if everybody saw it, but the SkyWest Essential Air Service contract was approved by the federal government. So, and that is for 4 years.
The Essential Air Service program itself has been approved for 4 years. They award those in 2-year cycles, so SkyWest has it for the next 2-year cycle.
That's an additional airline?
That's the airline we have now operating as United.
Are there any further questions or comments? Thank you. We'll move on to new business. Anyone who wishes to be heard on the new business? Hearing none. We'll go on to public comment on a new topic. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is carried.
I'm not buying you lunch right now.
No, actually the company I do work for bought me lunch. I think I better cancel next month's tea party.